All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Become a Hotel Owner, How to Buy a Hotel. This webinar is being sponsored by Wyndham Hotel. So thank you so much, Wyndham, for sponsoring us.
Thank you, Devon, for having us. This is amazing. I'm excited about the conversation.
Yes, thank you. So we're going to do an introduction, and then Galen, he's going to talk about the Wyndham Hotels Bold program, and of course, we will leave time for Q&A. So just a little bit about myself. Known as the Hotel Queen because I love Beyonce, and I was walking on Diva. We had a How to Buy a Hotel speaker series. So the first one was on June 11th, and we talked about leveraging business credit and personal credit to get into hotel investing. And then on June 13th at 3 p.m., we were with Sujay Mehta. He's a seasoned hotelier. He even has a Wyndham in his portfolio. He has a Days Inn. And we talked about the different steps and how to buy a hotel. And we are here today with Wyndham talking about their Bold program. So just a little bit about myself. I've been in the business for over 15 years. Throughout my career, managed $1 billion of hotels under asset. I have a book, How to Buy a Hotel. Currently have 30 million under assets. I feel like I featured in everything except for Essence. I've been selected as Georgia State University's 40 under 40. I was the International Society Hospitality Consultants Emerging Leader, top 100 influential hospitality leaders. So I got to make sure y'all awake, okay? So how many people, and y'all get a prize. How many people? Whoever gets this, whoever puts the correct answer in the chat will get a prize. So there are over 59,000 hotels in the United States. There we go. I can see now. There were 59,000 hotels in the United States. How many are owned by Black people? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, actually, you all got it right because you said less than 0.2. You all got it right. You all, do you have my book already? Or the success, do you have the success kit? You all got everything. You got a success kit too? Do you have, Wyndham, we may have to give them something for y'all. We may have to give them a Wyndham notebook. You got a Wyndham notebook? All right, Larry, we had to get you one. Look, I put Larry on the spot. So the answer is less than 2% are owned by Black people. So that's why we are having these conversations, because we want to increase that percentage. And that's why one of the reasons I'm sure why Wyndham created their Bold program, which Galen will talk about in a few. All right, let's keep going. All right, so my story. Again, I started off as a front desk agent. That's me. I did not take a picture of me while I was at the front desk. If anyone has a picture of me at the front desk, please send it to me. I cannot find one, okay? So while you were on your journey, you never know if you are going to make history or not. All right, I did not know that because I probably was taking a picture. So that's me while I was at Georgia State University, because that's how I got my start as a front desk agent, working at the Hyatt Regency Atlanta. And then now that's me. I'm a mom. I have a 4-year-old. That's me in front of one of my hotels. A Staybridge in Indianapolis Fishers. So again, thank you, Wyndham, again for sponsoring us. And then we have our special guest. We have the Senior Vice President of Strategic Planning and at Wyndham Hotels. So, Strategic Partnerships at Wyndham Hotels. So I am going to pause and have Galen please introduce himself to the group.
Sure. Yeah. No. And that is a great introduction. I like the transition here. You're standing in front of that Staybridge in Fishers. That is my hometown. That's where I grew up, right there, just south of Fishers, Indiana, in Indianapolis. And so that warms my heart. But I've known that, Devon, about you and your ownership and your path for a while here. And so I am here to vouch for both the success and perseverance that Devon has managed, as well as all of the effort she puts into events like this to try to expand, frankly, the network of qualified and interested and dedicated individuals like the folks that we have here gathered to learn more about hotel ownership. So let me share my screen.
Are you able to share it? If not, I'll give you access.
Yes, so I'm just Yeah, I'm disabled. If you can give me access, I've got
Okay,
some
you should be able
slides.
to have access now. Okay.
Okay. Screen 2. So a little bit about me as I introduce the BOLD program more broadly. I joined Wyndham about 10 years ago. I formerly worked in finance and banking, doing a variety of things, commercial banking, some investment banking, but all from sort of the capital support of corporations across the industrial complex. And so when I was looking to bridge out of banking and looking at different opportunities, hospitality, quite frankly, coming out of New York, hospitality and the platform that Wyndham represented right here in New Jersey was a great fit. And I started my career moving out of banking here, doing a lot of financial planning, a lot of capital allocation. And from that perch, one thing that you see in banking, and then also when you are in corporate capital allocation and the management of those processes, is just how important it is to be at the seat of the table, to have the keys to deploying capital, to managing assets. And it always struck me that one of the things that was important for me was to find a way for me to use my position, whether it was my experience and my skill set as a finance kind of math guy, to help the organization and bring the organization toward supporting the Black community. I'm a Morehouse grad. Not everything I do clearly can be for the Black community, but when the opportunity came a couple of years ago for BOLD to be realized.
Gabe, when we got some more house, I'm about to say we got to at least have one more house.
Yeah, if there's got to be house representation. I mean, I saw so many ATL hands go up. So if you're not from Morehouse, you know somebody from Morehouse, or you know somebody from HBCU, and so the platform is large. I will acknowledge. And so for me, it was always something that I was looking forward to do, and something that I was excited when the organization got behind this initiative. Right on the tail of us also doing a separate but related program called Women on the Room. And those two programs right now are the ones that we stand up, and it's the two programs that I run. So like Devon said, I'm the Vice President of Strategic Franchise Initiatives. I like to call it strategic franchise groups, but our goal is more engagement, more conversations with entrepreneurs who otherwise have not been in the hotel industry. And so BOLD is our Black Owners and Lodging Developers program specifically for that purpose. And so when we launched this a year ago at NABHOOD, that's the National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Hotel Developers, it's a mouthful, but at the NABHOOD conference last year, Andy Ingram, who runs that organization, allowed us to announce our initiative at that place. We have since been engaging in conversations around what is the pathway, how do you get in conversation with Wyndham, and what does that all mean? And so let me just say that that's BOLD. Let me talk a little bit about Wyndham, and then I'll come right back into BOLD and all of the kinds of things that we are trying to do and all of the kinds of things that we are hoping to do in the future as these programs evolve and do better to support entrepreneurs like yourself. So let me see if I can get the tech right here. We're Wyndham, the largest hotel company. Just some of the brands here represented. We are 9,000 hotels globally. We're in more than 95 countries. Let me skip to that global footprint as that populates. Our largest footprint is in, we call it NAMER, North America. So that's United States and Canada. But like I said, we are a global platform with the 9,000 hotels sprinkled around the globe across 24 brands. And I think the takeaway here is scale and breadth is the key here. We have a brand, we have positioning, and we have customers that can help you as an entrepreneur be successful, irrespective of what your hotel dream is. You may have one type or another type, but because of the breadth of our footprint, we have a solution that will work for you. And so that's, I think, the takeaway from this slide. This is our brand portfolio. Everything from, on the very left-hand side, extended stay, I'm not going to get into all the definitions here, but think of extended stay. For those you don't know, extended stay is more like well, it's in the name, longer stay hotels with kitchenettes, meant for just longer stays, whether it's traveling professionals who have long dated contracts, et cetera. And then as you skip out of extended stay, we call these the transient hotels. And so from economy all the way up to distinctive, we have different platforms and different products, and partner exclusively as a franchisor across all 9,000 hotels. And so, one of the things I think, Devon is going to agree with me on is that as a first-time hotelier, one of the things you want to think about is, where can I be most successful? It's most likely not at our premier Wyndham Grand. I'll just put that out there, where you've got multiple outlets, multiple amenities to manage, a restaurant. It's a very complicated thing. What we find is most individual hotel owners going into this for the first time, if they're not partnering with somebody like Devon, are entering into some type of a conversion somewhere in the economy or mid-scale space. It's sort of the bread and butter, frankly, of our portfolio. It's where most of our hotels reside. It's where most of our franchisees reside. And it's where most of people cut their teeth. So I just wanted to put that out there as you look at our 24 brand bar, as we call it, and speak a little bit about why scale matters. It's everything that I said. We drive loyalty. We have a Wyndham Rewards program that brings in lots of customers. We have global marketing programs that bring attention and eyeballs to your property as you're part of the system. All of this means increased distribution and what we call higher contribution. Contribution is basically how much revenue, how many room nights are we sending to your hotel based on all of our efforts. And so all of these things matter. Scale matters. Wyndham, as the largest hotel company, really ticks the box on all of those metrics. And we've, as the largest, you can imagine, we've won lots of awards. I'm not going to dwell on this, our awards, our award rep sheet, but that's here. What I do want to talk about a little bit, I'm not going to go in detail, but what the BOLD program, and this sheet here was developed as part of the strategic franchise initiative, is what we are trying to do is bring and condense and break down what it means to be a hotel owner, what it takes to understand the path to developing commercial real estate, as well as then on the back of that pretty intensive process, whether it's a conversion of an existing hotel and renovating that property up to the quality standards of a Wyndham brand, in our instance, that real estate project then is quickly followed on the back by a fairly complex operating hotel business. And so the path to understanding how all of those pieces come together, whether it's permitting and real estate, or it's hiring and finance on the operating side of the hotel, there's a lot of pieces that you need to be on top of as a hotel owner. And one of the things that we have really focused on with our BOLD and Women on the Room programs is thinking about what it means to be a new hotel owner, which is different than what, say, folks who have been in this industry for the last 30 years who make up most of our portfolio. And so what we've had to do is go back and really think hard. We had a focus group of entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs, frankly, who met with us down in our hotel in, where were we? We were in Bonnet Creek, down in Orlando. And we listened to what they told us about the things that a first-time entrepreneur really faces and the challenges they face. And one of the outgrowths of that conversation is a sheet like this, right? This is what you would get when you connect with, we've got here in the audience, one of the developers, Larry Foster. When you join in the BOLD program, we put you in contact with Larry. And one of the things that he does is he walks you through this entire roadmap. But he also says, look, step one is establish a strategic goal and a plan, right? Understand what it is, what kind of hotel it is that you want to do, how it is that you are going to think about financing and acquiring, and where are the right markets that you should start to look, and how is that hotel ultimately going to operate? Are you going to do it? Are you going to hire a management company? But speaking with Larry, speaking with somebody on our team really helps you to start to figure out and break down how this very complex picture is going to look and walk you through the steps. And that's something that our team is really poised to do. And that's what Bold is meant to do. So let's talk about brass tacks. I told you I came from banking, and when you think commercial real estate, everybody knows commercial real estate, access to capital is a big deal. And so this is another reason why, it makes sense to start in this economy or mid-scale section, because while banks will come with the largest portion of the check, as everybody knows with real estate, these days you're lucky if you get 65% of the value, whether it's an acquisition or it's a new build. But if you're acquiring a property at where 2/3 of that bill is coming from the bank, well, 1/3 is still coming from you. And that is a significant portion as you see these three different buckets. And let me pause. I see a couple of folks raised hands. I want to pause here. This is there's a lot in this slide. So I'm happy to pause. And Devon, I don't know if you can.
We're going to leave some time for Q&A.
Fair. All right. Well,
so make sure you all save your questions at the end, and we'll leave some time for Q&A. And if you do have any questions, because everyone is muted, put your questions in the Q&A section.
Awesome. All right, that works for me. So we'll come back to this. It's important. I'll just mention that what this represents here is so-called equity. So it's the amount of an estimated, I'll say, amount of money that you've got to bring to the table. And frankly, it doesn't have to be you. You can go fundraise. Devon can tell you all about fundraising. But the scale of capital of equity that is required for each of these types of platforms, each of these kinds of chain scales, say, whether it's an economy or a mid-scale or an upscale full service, requires a different level of investment. And like I said, that's only half the story. Once you've got that capital in place, each of these also, when you think about the difference between an upscale full service, where full service is going to include, as we mentioned here, personalized services, concierge, spa, maybe a restaurant, right? All of a sudden, you're not just running beds and heads, but you got 3 different businesses that you need to be up to speed on. And the complexity involved there makes being successful with that much capital, which obviously is more capital, that much more difficult. Where you compare that to, at the top of the page here, an economy kind of budget hotel, where one, the check size is much smaller, and you really only focused on lodging, right? Heads in beds, making an experience for your customer that they can write they'll leave you good reviews on TripAdvisor, right? At the end of the day, that being able to focus on that with a much smaller bet in terms of capital is one of the big reasons why we think it makes a lot of sense to be in that side of the spectrum. So this is Bold. Bold is, in its detail for us, is us thinking about the different types of entrepreneurs within the Black community who may be approaching hotels. So there are some who come through on this left side of the page, in this left column, and laying the foundation. This is sort of a laying the foundation event. Some of you folks aren't really at this level, maybe have much more experience, but we want to give kind of the 101 view, be able to network, provide educational tools, whether it's spreadsheets, connect you with the right people to let you know what are all the things that you need to know to start your diligence, start your research, and be able to get yourself down a path of self-qualifying, understanding the things that you need to do. There's a second path that we have on the right side of this page, this column called accelerating the path. That's more for folks who are more diversifying their interests, so to speak. So folks who have had some success already as entrepreneurs, maybe have already had success with commercial real estate, whether it's multifamily or commercial real estate in terms of a retail outlet, but not necessarily a restaurant, a QSR, quick serve restaurant, but not necessarily a hotel. So we've got different things in place to accelerate the path for those more experienced and higher qualified individuals. Higher is probably not the right word, more qualified folks, to get them in the seat of opportunities faster if they weren't part of the Bold program. And one of the features that we have, and this is going to be something that we put on for, I referenced NABHOOD. The NABHOOD conference is coming up here in July. Everybody should look into that if you haven't already, down in Miami. where we will be putting on a Bold Incubator event for qualified applicants, where we'll be doing a, actually, let me not announce it. I know our marketing and sales team is doing a ton of work on figuring out exactly how that's going to come together, but trust me, it's going to be an exciting event for those who actually participate. But it's one of these things where it's special events. It's more kind of accelerating folks into the path of finding the hotel of their dreams and putting them in the right place. So that's what Bold is. That's how we've constructed it, and that's what we have intended to do. So just a couple seconds, a couple moments here on thinking about what are the brands, kind of as I've referenced them, the feature brands that we think new hotel owners should consider. So we bunch these in iconic brands. And so you think about Wingate, these aren't all economy budget. These are economy budget as well as mid-scale when you think about Wingate and Baymont in that list. But these are the kinds of things where you have long-standing, well-known brands with very well-regarded or well-established quality standards. So it's kind of the thing where, you have a script, we can give you the script, you find a market where you think you're going to be successful, and we kind of give you the playbook. And these are the kinds of brands where focusing on lodging in those marketplaces, you can just focus on how do you maximize your profitability in each of those markets and be focused on this whole new
Galen,
thing.
I'm sorry to stop you. Can you go
Please.
back to that slide?
Yes.
Okay, because I know we have a couple folks in the hotel industry is absolutely new. This is their first time. How many people this is their first time even thinking about hotel ownership? Like, you didn't even know you could do it. All right. We still got a whole bunch of me's. We got a whole bunch of me's. Okay. So a lot of this is new, which is, so one, give you all a round of applause. I'm clapping for you all because you all literally are changing your mindsets. You're going to be changing your lives and even thinking about changing your family's lives and the trajectory of your family's life because you're thinking about hotel ownership. Okay. So these brands that Galen have on here, these are the economy. I know he's been throwing out economy hotels and there's some limited service. So economy hotels, for those who don't know, there's just the Days Inn, it's the Super 8. I'm sure everybody's heard of or even seen a Super 8 drive-in. Same thing with Days Inn. Days Inn has been around for what, 50 years now? Y'all just celebrated your 50th anniversary, right?
Cecil B. Day's wife was part of that celebration. Absolutely. Yep.
Yes. And I'm on the board for the Cecil B. Day School of Hospitality at Georgia State. So shout out to the Panthers in the crowd. But the Days Inn and Super 8, they're economy as well as travel lodge, and actually pretty much the majority of these hotels are economy hotels. And what that means is it's more of they don't have like the thrills, right? They don't have the full service restaurant. Some of them really don't even have complimentary breakfast. It's just more so just for targeting guests who really just don't need all those extra amenities, and they're just more of a budget conscious traveler. So I just wanted to make sure that you all noticed them because it's actually a lot of different type of brands and over 20 different hotel types. But I always recommend for first time hotel owners to start off with the economy brand. So sorry, sorry, Galen. Just wanted to make sure everyone knew what that was. All right.
Yes, and let me add to that. Not only I think is it best to start with the economy or maybe a mid-scale but limited service to as Davon, limited service means it's really just beds and and rooms and nothing else. But one of the other things that you should consider is partnering with someone with experience. So just to give Devon a nod here, finding somebody who you can partner with that kind of experience, whether it's through Devon's program or it's finding somebody in your network or finding someone who has already done this to be part of your partnership, including Wyndham partnering with us. The more folks that you can bring to bear with experience and perspective, the better. But from a brand perspective, this is a great place to start. So just some pictures of what that looks like. This is, a very nice new construction Days Inn. But frankly, when you go in, you don't have to be new construction. You can go find a property and right now I'm going to buy a house here in New Jersey, and what you find is these not hotels, these houses are, they're like 70 years old, but you go inside and they look like they were built yesterday, frankly, some of these houses. And so you don't let the concept of new construction versus conversion and renovation mislead you. Conversion properties can be made with the right attention to detail and the right level of budgeting to look amazing and offer a customer experience that can make you successful. So Days Inn, a couple of concepts here. We are, it's a leader in brand awareness. It has 117 RevPAR index. What that means is, it sort of says it here, it outperforms its competitors on average. So what an index is well, first RevPAR, that's revenue per available room. And so that's basically the amount of revenue that you make on average on any given day for a single room in your hotel, just average revenue per day. That's what RevPAR is. And so that number you can compare across the industry. It's one of the metrics, key performance key performance metrics that we think about. Being at 117% means that Days Inn, revenue is about 17% higher than its competitive peers in the economy space on average. And so that's a great thing, right? Days Inn is well regarded. It sort of outcompetes, and its competitors, and it's a platform that, like we talked about earlier, doesn't require extreme amounts of capital to get up and running in terms of a limited service economy brand. So
wait, I want to jump in again. So I know we're going to answer a lot of the questions at the end, but I do. So when I talk about starting off as an economy, or starting off with an economy or limited service or even extended stay, I get that a lot of people may not want to stay at Days Inn. There's hotels like Super 8. I completely get it. But what we're talking about, and what I typically talk about, is coming from changing from a consumer to an ownership mindset. So what Galen is talking about, and he's talking about RevPAR index, and he's talking about reservation contribution, he's throwing out terms as words from an ownership perspective, because as an owner, that's what I want to look at, right? I'm looking at, he's saying that the Days Inn by Wyndham is 117% RevPAR index, which is outperforming its economy competition. So as an owner, that's something I want to see. So basically what he's saying is that it's exceeding the fair share, which is the goal is to get over 100%. So he's saying that Days Inn is exceeding the fair share, or grabbing pretty much the RevPAR out of the market. So I get it, you guys, you want to develop a boutique hotel and you want to build and create your own brand. Trust me, I get it, and we'll talk about that. But now think about it, when you bought your first house, was it the sexiest thing on the block? Your first investment property that you ever purchased in real estate, was it the best thing ever? Let me know in the chat, please. I want to see if somebody's gonna prove me wrong. It was the best thing ever. Was it the best? It was fancy. It had all the bells and whistles. It was great, right? Okay, no, exactly. So the same thing with your first hotel. I get it. We already got some questions in the chat talking about boutique. What he's talking about, Days Inn, that is a great property to start off with, as a good property to start off with, because it's, for one, you want to understand hotels, because you just showed me and told me and Galen that a lot of you all, this is your first time getting the hotel business, right? So you don't know anything about hotels, okay? So, but starting off with the Days Inn or Travel Lodge, you're understanding RevPAR. A lot of y'all don't know what RevPAR is, right? So understanding what RevPAR is, really understanding how to really serve the guests, really understanding the financials, just getting to the closing table, right? That's our goal, is to get you to the closing table. And so it's okay to start off with a Days Inn. It's okay to start off with a Super 8, because you want your first property, more than likely, will probably not be something that you personally may not stay in, or something that you may not want to start off with. But the goal is you want to learn and you want to grow your portfolio.
Yeah. One thing, just to, and I like this pause here, and I'm just going to, it's right. I think it's good to talk about it with this Days Inn up, is one of the things that Dayon said is that knowing what the hotel business is and how it works, it is complicated. And what I mean by that is, you know, what we are looking at is 2 beds in a room, right? It seems pretty simple, but how you fill those 2 beds in a room is not straightforward, as straightforward as you might think from outside of the hotel industry. Are you going to fill those 2 beds with business travelers? Are you going to fill that with vacationers? Are you going to fill that with Smurf business? I'm not even going to go into what Smurf is, but it's an important concept within the hotel industry. Is this going to be something where there's a lot of convention business? This isn't a convention hotel, but you may be located near a convention center, and so you may get a lot of group business that comes to your hotel. And I say all this to say that the hotel industry is so mature in the way that hotel owners target and optimize the types of revenue that they bring in and how they market and sell to those different so-called segments of the industry, how those revenues come in. You want to be able to figure that out before you make your life more complicated by doing something boutique or adding on a restaurant with something that's more full service. You want to be in a place where mostly everything is figured out. Days Inn brand, what the beds are, the design. That's what Days Inn brings you, so that you can focus in on specifically on your block, in your geography, what is the business that you're going to go pursue. And you can frankly, you can spend 3 years still trying to figure out how to optimize revenue in a market for a Days Inn, and maybe still at the end of those 3 years not be an expert on it, but at least you know what you don't know. But at this stage, having no experience yet in the hotel industry, you don't even know what you don't know, and it's all going to come at you fast, and you don't want to create more challenges for yourself by thinking that you want to do something that's outside of the box. You can be successful, but it's just a harder platform to do so, to Davon's point. So let me see, how much time do we have left? Do you think we should, I can go through more examples, sort of
show some pictures. I think some people have in they brain what a Days Inn. So I think it'll be great for them to see the new prototypes that you all have. I think that'll help. Would y'all like to see that? I think so.
Yeah, so so these are some examples. This first page, I'm just going back. This is the new prototypical Days Inn room. It's called the Dawn package. It says it right here, new Dawn guest room. So this was redesigned, I think 5 years ago, just with kind of modern sensibilities. You can kind of see what we call FF&E, the fixtures, furniture, and equipment, and the kind of furnishings of this room fits sort of a modern feel in the design. And so a lot of that, now you can see this being actually in real hotels that are out there. This prototype is somewhere, it's an economy hotel, but I'll tell you what, it's Days Inn's, the right Days Inn, right, in the right place that's been renovated appropriately is someplace where I don't mind taking my 5 and 3-year-old, right? These are nice hotels.
Oh, look, I'm seeing that's nice. I bet y'all want to buy Days Inn now. Look at y'all. See?
One thing that we haven't talked about here is, and we won't get into it, but Davon has hinted at it, is that profitability of these select services compared to profitability of those larger and larger kind of boutique hotels, profitability matters. You find that when you have less capital at play and you can focus more on the things that you can control, you actually are more profitable. Restaurants by their very nature are less profitable than hotel rooms. And so as you start to expand, other things start to come into play. But suffice it to say, these things that have well-designed, this is the Wingate new prototype here. I think that Wingate was a brand that we developed here at Wyndham actually before my time in the 2000s. So here's some pictures of what that looks like. Wingate, and this, I like this because this shows what we were just talking about. This was not a new build Wingate, but it is a prototypically renovated Wingate. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, you can see what this hotel looked like before. And with more than just a fresh coat of paint, but like real renovation and effort and capital that went into renovating this property, right? It's a beautifully renovated Wingate in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So just an example of, don't just focus on what you think, and having like a nice new construction or an idea that you think can work, there's a lot of stuff that's already off the shelf, including properties that are just, ripe for renovation, that can make the path so much easier. And so I think this is just a good example of that. So just a couple of new construction brands that we want to throw up there as well. These are sort of our feature new construction brands: La Quinta, Microtel, American, and Hawthorne. Excluding Microtel here, these are all what we would call mid-scale or upper mid-scale hotels. And so just when you just think about just sort of the fit and the fixtures and the positioning, the rate of those three, excluding Microtel, are typically a little bit higher. But Microtel, you find, even though it's an economy hotel, it actually competes on a rate basis. When I say rate basis, that means how much you're charging per night to stay at that hotel. On a rate basis, Microtels, new build Microtels that are prototypical, actually fit within this category, right? Like, even though they are economy hotels with that kind of a development budget, they've been engineered in a way to make them competitive in terms of what they look like on the inside. So what we're doing right now is Microtel. It's a 100% new construction brand. We've kind of built that ground up. And let's see, do we include some pictures? It's designed with efficiency. There's a lot of stats. Anyway, this is the design of what Microtel is, but it's designed to be efficient. It's designed to be competitive. Now, here's some pictures. So this is what the Microtel looks like. So you don't have a side-by-side here, but the way the Microtel looks when it's we've got a renovation package that gets it to this status, or when you build it new and it looks like this, you go in these rooms and you really can't tell the difference between a new build Microtel and, one of the mid-scale offerings that we have or some of our competitors. And so Microtel is really a great option on a budget basis. La Quinta, it's a little bit nicer. The fixtures, the finishes, everything there probably has a little bit more longevity, frankly, compared to what the Microtel does. But again, this is probably one of our highest featured new construction brands. But this brand's been around for a long time, and so when I say new construction, there's also some very high quality conversions of La Quintas that we have in the portfolio. And so just some pictures of what that looks like. You can see, this looks very much like a Microtel, frankly, on the inside, but it's a little bit nicer, right? The finishes, the furnishings, that the couch over there, it's a little bit nicer. And so as a result, the budgets for La Quintas are a little bit higher than Microtel, and you actually get a little bit more pricing on typically for a La Quinta than you would for a Microtel. So here's what the prototypical La Quinta Hawthorne dual brand. So just to make things even more complicated, this is a new thing in the industry where what we found is that there's reason that instead of having rooms that are just going unoccupied, that you can probably target two different customer bases. You could have an extended stay Hawthorne brand, right? Kitchenettes in those Hawthornes built into the same box as a transient, so no kitchenettes in the La Quinta side, and all of a sudden you've made your product offering more efficient. So this is what that means, is that you can access now two types of customers on the same plot of land and make your property more efficient than it otherwise would have been. There's been a lot of research as to how effective this will be, and this is, I bet a lot of you have seen these. We've got, our competitors have similar offerings, but this is ours, La Quinta Hawthorne.
So basically, it's like two hotels together, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why it's good for shared costs from an owner perspective, you have one GM for the property, even though you have two different front desks, but you have one general manager. You could have a director of sales. From a shared cost and expensive, that helps. For those who don't know anything about dual brands.
So let's, what do we have, 15 minutes? Let me say I went over the 10 minutes that I thought I was going to go.
No, it's okay. Can you give me I wanted to do a recap real quick, but then we'll give time for Q&A, because I wanted to, I think let me reclaim the host. Can I wait? Let me see. Okay, let's see. Yeah, reclaim host. Okay, so I'm the host now. Thank you for that, Galen. We're gonna come back to you. So real quick, I'm gonna share my screen. real quick. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we all know, because I know it's a lot of new folks on here. I know some of y'all taking my courses or tuned into webinars. But what Galen was mostly talking about was from the active perspective of you buying the hotels. You're looking at the different types of hotels. You're raising capital, putting a deal together, developing, converting. So that's more of the active side. The passive side is someone is like, you know what, Galen, that sounds cute. That sounds amazing, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I do have some money. I do want to invest. I do want to become a hotel investor, but I'm not trying to do all that work that you said, Galen. So I'm just going to rather do the passive route. So how many people in the chat want to go to active or the passive route? Passive, active, active, active. Okay, we got, all right, Galen, we got some active folks up here.
There we go.
Okay, active, active, active. Okay, all right.
I'll tell you, this looks like some partnerships, right? I mean,
Look like
we've
some
got both.
partnerships.
Yep.
There we go. Now, how many folks? So let's do, oh, there's the poll. Okay, all right, let's do a poll. So Galen to know. So, okay, here we go. On hotel ownership time frame. Okay, I put it in the chat. So if you could just let us know, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 24 months, 24 to 36 months to give folks an idea. So it looks like 12 to 24 months. Galen, you see that? So we got some folks who are thinking about developing or buying a hotel. I would go with the buying or converting before developing. Yeah. Okay, Paulette said 6 to 12 months. I believe you, Paulette. We got more than 36. That's okay. But 6, okay, Angela Jones says 2023. We got 6 to 12 months. The question is, what's the hotel ownership time frame? When do you plan to buy your first hotel? When do you plan to become a hotel owner? That's the question. How do we get the funding? We can talk about that in a few. 12 to 24 months. I would say Galen did just say he's the money guy. Okay. So how you can find some of the hotels, you can go to 10x.com, you can go to LoopNet, you can go to Crexy, or you just work with a hotel broker. Our favorite hotel broker is Omari Head. He's the hip hop hotel broker. So make sure you find him on Instagram. And then before you reach out, I know we have Larry in the chat with Wyndham. Before you reach out to folks like Larry, or even a broker, we want to make sure that you create your investment thesis, right? So what kind of hotel are you looking at? Galen did an excellent job going over the different types of hotels to kind of get your mind going. So what kind of hotel do you want to look at? You know, when do you plan to invest, which we talked about? Where do you plan to invest? Do you want to look at a hotel, you know, within 2 hours? You want to look at hotels within 2 hours from you or 2-hour flight? Because what's going to happen when you talk to someone from Wyndham, they're going to ask you these questions and you don't want to go, I don't know, right? So you want to definitely be prepared. So that way it could be a win-win situation. So when you reach out to Wyndham and you're like, hey, I want to, you know, look at the Super 8s or Microtels, or, you know, to any other hotels, you kind of have an idea. And then why are you doing this? Are you doing this for an equity play? Are you doing for a cash flow play? Because then that'll help determine which brand will work for you. And then how are you going to invest, right? Are you going to partner? Galen mentioned partnering. We have a lot of passive investors in the chat. So you may have to bring in some silent partners to come and invest with you to be capital partners. We talked about the types of hotels, the limited service economy. We didn't talk too much about extended stay. There are actually over 20 different types of hotels, resorts, full service, luxury. I know some folks asked about the boutique hotels. And then the acquisition process, high level. You definitely want to create your investment criteria. You want to assemble your team. So of course you want to have someone like Wyndham on your team, having a hotel broker, having a lender. If this is your first time working with a consultant, finding a hotel. We talked about the different steps before. Doing your due diligence, analyzing the deal to see if it makes sense. Then you want to submit an offer. Once it gets approved, then you want to do your due diligence. Now if you do find a Wyndham, right? Galen, what do you suggest? The first thing you want to do is call Wyndham, right?
Wait a second. If you find a Wyndham that you want to buy?
Well, so let's say you submit an offer, right? And then
Yeah.
it got approved. Don't you want to contact Wyndham because you want to go through the application process and or if you plan to develop a Wyndham, don't you want to go ahead and reach out to Wyndham because you have to go through the approval process?
So two things, so fair, two things on that. I think you can, so to be successful, Devon, to your point, you want to have as much thought into getting into that conversation as you possibly can, right? Just showing up and saying, hey, just tell me what I need to do is likely to not be successful when you call up, our development team. That's what we call them, our developers. Larry Foster, again, he's in here. There's others. There's a whole team across the country. So you want to have as much ready as possible. But if you have a real opportunity and you want to find and you want to find out what are the opportunities to partner with Wyndham, absolutely. Like our development team is ready to talk you through what the application process looks like, the kind of the dynamics, the timing. They may even offer up, hey, I know you're looking at this one opportunity. I know you spoke to Amari Head and he showed you this hotel, but one of our development guys might say, hey, have you thought about just buying a Wyndham that already exists, because we know somebody who's in the place, in that market that you're looking at, who might be selling, a Days Inn, and why don't you look at buying that Days Inn? So what I'll say is there's all different types of conversations that you can have, and you just want to, I think, be as best prepared to engage with Wyndham and our development team in specifically the exact kind of conversation that is going to be the most beneficial to you, right? And so if you do go down a licensing path, right, if you already know what the opportunity looks like, Amari's Amari Head, since we've dropped his name here, and he's given you, this is the hotel, it's for sale, you've got an offer in, and all you need is a brand. You're going to connect with Larry. Larry's going to talk you through the dynamics of what getting a franchise agreement for a Days Inn on that hotel and all the costs associated with that and partnering with Wyndham. So Wyndham is you want to get in contact with our development team as soon as possible, because here's the big thing. While you may be able to get an offer in place to buy a hotel, ultimately, to close that hotel, you're going to need the bank on board. And the banks almost always want to know who it is you're partnering with from a brand perspective. And so you want to have those conversations as early as possible so that you're prepared when you go to have the financing and the bank financing conversation, which is always one of the hardest things, because access to capital is like we've talked about, is one of the gateway items in our industry. So
thank you for that. All right, real quick. All right, so we talked about that. Due diligence, transition. I know that's really high level. That's a whole nother class in itself. Actually, I'll offer a whole class on itself, but the acquisition process, we won't have enough time for that, but I just wanted to give it high level. So it is some financing, you can do crowdfunding. You can, through SBA, Small Business Association, 7A, they loan up to 5 million. USDA, that's more in a rural area, and just working with brokers or mortgage brokers will actually lend on hotels. So you do want to be careful. You want to work with folks who actually went to the closing table, gotten to the closing table. I know you may meet a lot of lenders and be like, oh yeah, I can close on a hotel, and they never done it before in their life. So it's like the blind leading the blind. But thank you all. And so we're going to leave. I promise I'll leave some time for Q&A. I know it's a lot of cute questions in the chat and it went by too fast. So I'll just go by with the questions in the Q&A section first. It says, does Wyndham offer boutique hotels?
So we don't offer boutique hotels, but we do have a brand, we call it a soft brand. It's called Trademark. And what that essentially does is it, as opposed to what Days Inn looks like, Days Inn is a very hard brand. It comes with very specific quality and design standards. And you basically have a box that you are building relative to a prototype. So you kind of have a roadmap. Trademark, on the other hand, is more of a distribution partnership. And what I mean by distribution partnership is that with a Trademark hotel, you generally have to figure out what it is that your design looks like, So when I think about boutique, that's what a boutique is. You're thinking about what it is, how it looks, how it feels, and who your customer is, right? Like all of these questions you're answering with all of that design and planning work. And what Trademark does is it essentially just links you up with our we call brand.com. So when people log on to Wyndham.com and they look for hotels in Nashville, your hotel is going to come up as a Wyndham hotel, right? As a trademark hotel. That's what it's going to do for you. You're going to have access to our loyalty program. So all the customers who are loyalty associated will again, when they're going to book their and use their Wyndham Rewards points, they're going to come to you and you're going to get that distribution. And so Trademark is the type of brand, we call it a soft brand because it comes with a less prescribed version than it would with a hard brand. So I don't know if that answers it for you, but we don't really do boutique, but we have something that accommodates boutique hotels.
Yeah, so I love soft brands because I get this question a lot. People want to start their own brands. And also I think people confuse boutique with like lifestyle. So boutique by definition is like rooms like less than 50 rooms. It's more intimate. And so what Galen just mentioned, the soft brand is I call it the best of both worlds. So where you're able to create your unique, identity, but you're still taking advantage of the reservation system. So Candace, let's say, because Candace, you asked that question, you want to develop the Candace Hotel, right? Well, if you're competing against someone like Wyndham, with your new hotel that you just opened, it's going to take a lot of money, right? Because people will prefer to say the Wyndham than the Candace Hotel because they never heard of the Candace Hotel. But when you partner with Wyndham and do the Candace Hotel with Trademark, then you're taking advantage of Wyndham Hotel reservation system. And then you're still meaning, when someone wants to book a Wyndham, then they'll see your hotel on the website and you're still able to create your unique identity. So we have another question that says, do you have a small unit brand? I guess, 40 rooms. I think you just answered that as far as with the Trademark. So then we have another question. So where do you get the funds to renovate? So you'll probably have to take out a loan. Okay, you gonna answer that live?
Oh no, sorry. I think you answered it. I was just
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it says where do you get the funds to renovate? So typically you can go, well, I don't know if you want to answer that, Galen, since you're the money person.
I'm a type of money person, I'll say. Devon,
I just keep throwing it out there.
You have more. So what we do, let me just say it. I'll say what I mean by that. We will, as part of the partnerships that we have with franchisees, one of the ways that we do partner is with capital. So we will invest in hotels. We call it key money. And effectively what it means is, we are just co-investing with you. And the benefit to us is, right, we have a revenue stream, right? We get a royalty stream. And so we are investing based on our sense of what that royalty stream will look like. So the thing that you need to think about is that we are a very small portion, even when we are putting in the largest check that we have ever put in, we are less than 5% of your so-called capital stack. So of the total funds you need to do your purchase, acquisition, your renovation, and set yourself up with working capital, that entire capital stack and budget for getting that hotel built, we are typically less than 5%. And so you've got a lot of things that away from us that you're going to need to figure out. And so that's where, Devon, you've got more experience fundraising equity, speaking to banks. We can help, but you need a real pro like Devon really to kind of guide you through it. We understand those markets as well, but I'll say, it's one of those things that we support and can help, especially in kind of bank conversations. But Devon, I'll just say, is the real expert here in terms of.
Oh, thanks. No, that was a great answer. So where you can go to get funds to renovate, you can get loans. Typically, you'll wrap that into the loan when you're looking to acquire. So for instance, if you happen to do I say SBA 7A because they're friendlier with first-time hotel owners. So let's say you buy a hotel, it's $3 million and it's $1 million to renovate. So that's less than $5 million, right? And so you can use that to renovate renovate your property. So that's, or you can raise capital, meaning bringing in silent partners or passive investors who want to invest to help with the renovation. So we have another question that says, with Bold and Women Own a Room, are you able to use both programs throughout your career as an owner or ownership group? I think that's for you, Galen.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get through this. So I'm answering some of the later ones. What was say that again, partnerships with organizations. So what we've got is a global sales organization. So we don't have partnerships. Maybe we do. Maybe there's different ways that we relate to organizations like the ones you're talking about, these demand generators, I'll say, people who are users of hotels, right? Institutions that are users of hotels. So what we have is a global sales organization that has relationships with all of those types of organizations. And so they're constantly calling, right? Whether it's airports and getting, their air crew and staff put into hotels, or it's, tourist bureaus who have relationships with folks who are constantly booking, tourism and finding sites. Our global sales organization has relationships with those folks so that we can offer up our hotels to meet the needs and demands from those groups. So I don't know if it's partnerships, but it's more relationships that we have as which you would get as part of with your relationship with Wyndham.
Oh, thank you for that. There was another question. It was, can you use both the Bold and the Women Own the Room program? So basically, I'm assuming if you're a Black woman, can you take advantage of both the Bold and Women of the Room, or it's either or?
So these things, I'll say, these are strategic initiatives for us, and we are certainly interested in Black entrepreneurs. We're certainly interested in women entrepreneurs. And if you're both, we're even more interested. I'll just say that. There's nothing that we are doing, though, that is like prescriptive. It's not like you get $5 for being Black and you get $5 for being a woman, and so all of a sudden you get $10. I will say that we are going to try to make something work. We're going to try to find a way, and certainly that what's the word? Intersectionality. I'm not the one who should be throwing these words out, but I think that's the right term. Like, that is something that matters to us. I'll just say that.
Oh, then we have a question. This was for me. It says, how do you get my course? So we have a 6-week masterclass that is coming up. So basically we break down and go down even further of what Galen was talking about. And so with this course, it'll help you get closer to getting your buying your hotel within the time frame that you said. So what to expect? It starts July 13th. It's a 6-week masterclass for 6 weeks. What to expect? You'll learn how to analyze deals. You learn how to negotiate. How to find deals. How to secure financing. So basically, by the time you finish with this masterclass, by the time you get a hold of Wyndham, you'll be more prepared, as Galen was mentioning, right? Those questions you were asking about how to raise capital, those questions you were asking about how to find deals, how to understand the different brands. So it's going to be myself and Sujay. How many of y'all remember Sujay from the last, if y'all were on our last session in June 13th? Y'all remember Sujay? Yep. So he is going to be the co-instructor. He has over 11 hotels in his portfolio and 2 in development. He also has a Wyndham in his portfolio as well. So he is a 2nd-generation hotelier, meaning his family owned hotels. So he's going to be basically teaching you as well how to analyze deals, unless he's better at analyzing deals than I am, in 20 minutes or less. The course here, there's the QR code. Use Bold to receive 10. Type in Bold and the coupon code to receive 10% off. You go to that QR code, it should take you right to the website where you can sign up for the course. You have until June 26th to receive the 10% off. I'm sorry for the folks that missed the 15% off, but the 10% off until June 26th to take the course. Spots are limited. It's 6 weeks, so every week it'll be live. You also have access to the pre-recorded sessions as well. And Sujay and myself will be working with you all personally every week, so you all know how to be prepared when you get a hold of Wyndham, and we want you all to be prepared. So after the 6 weeks, you should be able to at least be submitting offers into hotel deals. So that's information for the course. Then there's a question that says, will anyone be at the hospitality show? I see Wyndham as a brand will be there.
We will. Yep. We are sponsored. So for us, we are sponsoring some events there. Our executive leadership will actually be presenting on some of the panels at that conference. And so yeah, we will have representation. I personally won't be there, but we will have representation there.
Okay. All right. And so it says, got another question. It says, what returns can a passive investor expect to receive? So that varies, Melvin. That varies as far as because it varies per deal. And so going back to your investment thesis, you want to think about, when you're looking at deals, what do you expect? So are you looking for a 20% return, a 10% return, 10% cash on cash return? So that's up to you. So every deal is different. If you're looking at a 2x multiplier, so you want to, so that I hate to say it, is no cookie cutter, like, when you look at all hotels, you're going to expect the same return, because as you can see, there are different types of hotels. It varies on locations. It varies on the brand. It varies on the type of hotel you're investing in. As far as for the return, it says, generally, are the fees and franchise term lengths the same for soft branding? That's a question for you, Galen.
So the fees for soft brand are generally lower than the fees for a hard brand. Here's one, you got to go talk to our pros, our developers. I'm going to reference Larry Foster again here, but they can explain to you the difference in service level between being a trademark and being a full hard brand. But yeah, the fees for trademark are lower.
All right. It says, does Wyndham work with new developments, land? Absolutely. Like, I'll answer that. They love new developments. That's for you, Galen. I just jumped in. Sorry.
No, with new developments, yeah. I guess let me say it depends on. I could interpret that question in different ways, but we certainly work with new construction. So if I'm going to interpret this question, does Wyndham work with new developments with land in parentheses? So we don't own any land, but if you own land, we certainly have a product that we would we think that you should consider putting on that land. I'll say one thing, and this is sort of an aside here, is that when we talk about, we had that page where we said how much capital, how much equity is required. One of the big components of a new build is acquiring the land. And so what you find is banks will consider the value of the land. So you don't have to just have cash. Land is one of the big contributed portions of equity that hotel owners will bring and show to a bank as part of the resources that they're bringing to the table. And so, having site control is another way of saying it. Having control of the area where you want to develop is a big deal, and so land is really key to that matrix.
All right, so it says, okay, so we answered that one already. It says, do you have a recommended list of contractors for renovation projects?
I think so. That's a tough one to. So I would imagine that our developers in each market would have some relationships with folks that they have seen do business in the past, but we don't have a national list of contractors for renovation projects. What we do have are preferred vendors. So that's not renovation so much, but it's, think of FF&E, again, fixtures, furniture, furnishings, and equipment. So like beds and the actual like the stuff, right? The cabinetry, the TVs, all the actual material that goes into the room, right? Not the actual installation of the material, but we have preferred vendors and a list of that will provide those supplies. And we do have negotiated rates with those vendors. But the contractors, right, the people who are doing the manual labor, that's certainly local. And like I said, that's something that you'd want to talk with one of our developers to get a sense for that.
All right, it says, can I still work my 9 to 5 while owning a hotel? I want to own a hotel by hiring a management team to take care of everything while I still get paid for the hotel. You can do that. You can. I would recommend that you bring in a really strong management team or a general manager to manage everything, but you still want to keep an eye on it. So it can be done. Some folks, they start off with working their 9 to 5 while owning a hotel, and then, you know, as they build their portfolio or get on their second and third hotel, then they leave their 9 to 5 job. So it's something that you can do. So another question, so because I know we're running on time, it says, for clarity, can you explain the difference between hotels versus motels? Just for clarity, I thought Super 8s and days in were motels. Is there a different approach to investing? So motels are typically a lot smaller. There are economy hotels, meaning they just have like built, you know, just a front desk, and that's, and you typically enter it from the outside, like you enter your rooms through the outside. I think you're thinking about like the exterior corridors hotels. So there is a difference. Motels are a lot smaller. You're probably like less than 25 rooms, you know, Galen, I think, like. So to answer your question, Super 8 and days in, they're not considered motels. They're considered more of economy hotels, if that answers your question, Doreen.
And I'll add to it, motels is a bit of a dated term. I think specifically it had a lot, right? It was a hotel, it was like a motor hotel, right? Motorists,
yeah,
people traveling around. And so that term, the thing that you just said, Devon, that it was exterior corridor. So what that means is you can that's the hotel where you drive right up to your door, right? From the outside,
yeah.
You park in front of your door, you go in.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what motel was. Anymore,
Right.
people don't really, I mean, exterior corridor is sort of a dated concept. So like I said, the concept of motel one was a term of art, and anymore, I don't even think is relevant. I think the way that we talk about the lodging industry, let's say it that way, is by chain scale. So it's economy, right, versus mid-scale versus others. Well, there are still some exterior corridor, and you know, I bet people still call them motels. That's not a term that I frequently use in the industry.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It says, has Wyndham done any government contracting?
Depends on what that means. So let me say I don't think so.
I probably accepted government contracts.
Fair. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We certainly have government as a user of lodging, right? We certainly have governments who go through our GSO to find rooms that they can use. So absolutely, those are contracts that we will seek as part of our kind of distribution channels to put heads in bed, so to speak.
It says, do you have access to the success kit? If you purchased a success kit, you should have received it automatically in a separate email. If not, just send me a note and we'll make sure that you get it. But you should have received it automatically as soon as you purchase. Okay, it says, does Wyndham become a hotel management company if we partner with them, or do we still bring in our own management company? I can't answer that. It says, so Wyndham, you would need to bring in your third party. So that's called a third party hotel management company. You would need to bring in your own. Now, Galen, because you all only manage certain hotels, correct? You don't manage all your hotels?
So let me answer it two ways. We do manage some hotels, but we no longer in the management business. Those are legacies.
Yeah.
So we used to have a management business, and so we still do manage some of those, but we announced that we are exiting that business. And so yeah, for when partnering with Wyndham, you either have to manage yourself, or you, like Devon said, you got to find a third-party manager.
So it says, Galen, will it be an official announcement if the Caribbean is added to a region for bold?
So this is a this is a follow-up question. There was a question around whether or not Bold pertains internationally. So that actually, I answered that a couple of different ways. One, we don't have a business in Africa, so that is not a region where we currently do. And specifically with respect to the Bold and Women Own the Room program, we are focused on, we call it NAMER, but North America, Canada, and US, really the US, frankly. But the one caveat there is that we have looked at Bold deals and Women Own the Room deals in the Caribbean. So the question here is, will there be an announcement? I can say absolutely there will be an announcement, but I don't think we are close to that announcement. Right now, we're just doing it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, so so we are essentially partnering with Wyndham to use their namesake and customer pipeline. Yeah, you're just essentially becoming a franchisee.
I would add, so I like, this is my kind of question, because it's like, all right, I got your whole, I get it this whole hour. Let me just condense it for you, because this is exactly what my mind does. So let me just add one more concept, because you're right. It's to use the brands, to use the customer pipeline, but and importantly, there's a lot of design, right, work that goes with those brands. So there's a lot of design and construction and renovation work. So all of the stuff like, how does the look and the feel, like the actual physical asset, there's important work that we also provide, whether it's, like I said, getting beds and supplies into the hotel, but also literally just like thinking about how this hotel looks. That brand comes with all of that stuff as well. But I agree with you. It's sort of, you get the brand, you get the customers, but you also get this thought around how these things all come together in terms of look and feel.
So it says, can we bring Commonwealth management for hotel management? So I will say so you want to find a management company, and we talk about this a lot in the class as well, because management companies is like finding a nanny for your children, right? Or finding a babysitter for your children. So you have to be very selective and very careful, right? And so there are hundreds of different management companies, and some management companies won't even work with you because of the type of your hotel or the location. So I wouldn't just say, can we bring in Commonwealth management company, because for one, it depends on the type of hotel and it depends on the location, and also depends on the revenue, right? So you also want to see if it's a good fit as an owner, if you want to work with that management company as well. So you definitely want to do your research to see if it makes sense. And some management companies, they don't work with hotels if they're under a certain revenue. As you mentioned in the previous podcast, if people purchase hotels using their insurance policy, do you know what type of policy they were whole life do you recommend? Do you have recommendations for asset management companies? So what I said was that people have started to invest in commercial real estate using the cash value from their insurance policies. So no, I don't. So that I believe they use, some folks use whole life. And so what I was referring to is some people, like one of my first investors, she used the cash value out of her life insurance insurance policy to actually invest in property. So that's what I wasn't referring to. They didn't use their life insurance policy to purchase a hotel. They used the cash value. So when you, depending on the type of life insurance policy, and that's something you want to speak with the financial advisor to see which plan works best for you, and let them know your goals and your investment goals, so that way they can recommend the right insurance policy for you, so that way you can pull the cash value out. And do we have recommendations for asset management companies? I do. Again, it depends on the hotel and it depends on the location. It really depends on the how much revenue was being brought in, but I can provide recommendations. I think we answered all the questions.
All right, let me add a different interpretation of Brittany's question. Asset management, that might be like financial asset manager, like financial advisor. Is that, I don't know. So
a different, okay, thanks for saying that. Thanks for clarifying. So the difference between the asset manager and the management company. So a management company is someone that operates the day-to-day business, right? So they're dealing with the financials of checking in and out guests, they're dealing with hiring and firing of, the front desk and housekeeping staff. An asset manager is looking at it from the ownership perspective, right? So they're looking at it from like the financial goals and asset management strategy goals. Like, are we looking to sell? Are we looking to reposition? That's the difference between an asset manager and more of an owner advisory. So think of more of them as a consultant for your ownership group.
And that's even different than a financial advisor, like somebody who is telling you which stocks and bonds to put in your portfolio.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you tag me on Instagram, or the presentation, I forgot to do it in the beginning. Give a shout out to Galen. Galen was awesome, right? How many of y'all, did y'all learn something? Y'all didn't stay with us to the end. Galen did his thing, y'all, right?
I appreciate that, Devon. And I appreciate everybody staying.
Put some fires in the chat. If Galen was lit tonight, let me see some fires in the chat. I want to see some fires. I want to see some love, because he took the time out of his busy schedule to share with us about Wyndham. And we really do appreciate you, Galen. And we also appreciate Wyndham for sponsoring this webinar. So thank you all. And we got a fireman in the chat. That's what I'm talking about. So thank you. Look at that. You see all that love, Galen?
I appreciate the energy. Yeah, the questions, this was an amazing conversation. You guys came with a ton of energy and kept it sustained. So I appreciate all the excitement, and let's keep in conversation. Let's keep talking to Devon. Obviously, she's leading the way. Let's talk to our development team. Let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah, thank you all. You will get a recording. This was recorded, so it will be a replay so y'all can watch it. And we'll also send some more information about the BOLT program as well. So you all can learn more about it. And I see that Larry put his contact information in the chat as well, to reach out, so that we can go ahead and get started. So again, thank you all so much. You all have a great evening. Make sure that you sign up for the course. We're only taking limited, the recording, we'll send you an email for the recording. Make sure you guys sign up for the course. It starts July 13th. You definitely want to sign up to get the discount. Sujay is definitely he's looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all. Some of the folks who taking the course, some of them are under contract. Some of them actually purchased a hotel. So, it definitely works. And where can I find the course? If you use that QR code on the screen, you should be able to pull up the course. I'll also send the link of the course with the discount code in the email as well. But if you pull up your phone and pull out that QR code, you should be able to pull up the course as well. Is something wrong with the other course he had? What you mean there's something wrong? That means something wrong. This is a different course. Okay, yeah, this is a different course. Sujay is going to be more involved with this course. Oh, Larry, people have been finding you on LinkedIn. Okay, good. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with the previous course. It's just this is a different course, and this one is live. So this is actually live. The other course I had was pre-recorded. So this one is live. You're actually talking to both me and Sujay weekly. So if you have any questions along the way, like analyzing deals, having questions about how to talk to the brokers or how to find financing, you'll be able to ask it live. So that's the difference. Yep, 2.0, there you go, 2.0. Yeah, so like I said, the folks who taken my course in the past, they've been under you got to do the work now. So you have to do the work. I know some people, they don't do the work, and they're like, I haven't found my hotel. And I'm like, well, are you analyzing hotels? But the folks, they've been analyzing hotels. Hotels are going under contract. Like I said, we have created hotel owners where they actually purchased a hotel and created other investors as well. So it definitely works. You just have to do the work. So we definitely want to help. I'm a big proponent increasing that 2%. And partnering. That's why I partnered with Wyndham, because they believe it and they see it all the way up to the top, to the CEO, right? And so you have Galen here who believes in it as well with Wyndham and increasing the percentage of Black hotel owners with the BOLD program. So I was a part of the focus group, so it's good to see it all, into fruition. And thank you all so much. You all have a fabulous night. I appreciate you all for hanging out with us the day after Juneteenth. And you all have a great evening, and I will see you in class. I want to see you all on July 13th. Thank you all.
All right, good people.
Teresa.